We've got three huge shifts on our radar. First, Saudi Arabia is making this incredible $100 billion sprint into AI.
And there's this potential hardware revolution out of China, trying to finally solve the cable mess.
And finally, a really fundamental pivot from one of AI's founding fathers, Yann LeCun. So let's jump in.
Let's go.
Okay, we have to start with this colossal race for AI supremacy. And we're shifting our focus to the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia.
It's absolutely where you have to be looking right now. They've launched this incredibly aggressive campaign to become, and they're very specific about this, the world's third AI champion.
Right behind the U.S. and China. That's a bold claim.
It's not just ambition. This is backed by a $100 billion investment plan. It's all part of their Vision 2030 goal, which, is all about getting their economy off oil.
$100 billion is a monumental number. But to get to that top three spot, they have to move incredibly fast. I mean, they're basically starting from scratch. How can they possibly accelerate at that kind of speed?
Well, they have three things that most places don't. First, just colossal funds, straight from the state, no questions asked.
Okay.
Second, cheap and practically unlimited energy. You need that for the massive data centers AI requires. And third, total political will. When the top says go, everything moves.
And the symbolism is there too, right? This new AI-dedicated company, Humane.
Exactly. They launched it in May, and get this, it's led by Tarek Amin, an ex-Aramco executive.
From the state oil company to the state AI company. You can't write a clearer signal than that.
It's the whole story in one personnel move, shifting from the fuel of the last century to the digital fuel of this one.
So here's where their strategy gets, I think, really interesting and separates them from everyone else. They're betting on native Arabic language models.
Yes. This is the crucial part. Most models we use, like GPT, they're trained mostly in English and then, translated or adapted.
Which brings in all sorts of cultural bias and just plain mistakes.
Precisely. And Tarek Amin was explicit about this. Training a model natively in Arabic is critical. But the real strategic move is how they're training it.
On an exclusive data set, right? Not just scraped from the public internet.
Exactly. It's a non-internet accessible data set. It's not coming from Reddit or Wikipedia. It's proprietary, high-quality Arabic data.
Well, that's a huge competitive advantage. It changes the cultural references. It gets rid of that Western bias.
It makes it authentic. And it immediately positions them to be the AI leader for the entire Arabic-speaking market. That's nearly 500 million people.
And a market where 2/3 of the population is under 35. One of the youngest, most digitally native populations on the planet.
And the infrastructure they're building to support this is just staggering. They're signing huge deals with NVIDIA, AMD, Grok, all the big American chip makers.
I saw the energy goal, 1.9 gigawatts of computing power by 2030.
It's an insane number. To give you some context, that is 4 times the entire current computing capacity of France.
4 times. Wow. And they already have 10 supercomputers, including Shaheen, which is ranked, 7th in the world?
7th, yeah. And on top of the hardware, they're planning to train 20,000 specialists. But the really tricky part is always the regulation.
Right. How do you attract international business while also keeping state control? It's a balancing act.
A very specific tightrope is how I'd put it. They've got a new beta law. It's sort of inspired by Europe's GDPR.
But I hear it's more flexible.
It's described as more flexible than Europe, so companies can move faster. But, and this is a big but, it also includes very strong state supervision. It's much more controlled than the U.S. model.
So the pitch is, come here, we've got cheap power and a fast track, but at the end of the day, the state holds the keys to the data kingdom.
That's pretty much it. It's a feature, not a bug. It's actually very similar to the Chinese approach. Attract investment, but maintain sovereign control over the national data.
The potential here is it's off the charts. PwC thinks AI could be over 14% of the Saudi GDP by 2030.
They're betting that AI will be for their future what oil was for their past. It's a complete re-engineering of their economy.
Okay, that physical infrastructure, those massive data centers, it's a perfect pivot to our next topic. We're shifting from geopolitical AI to some really practical, maybe game-changing hardware.
Because the biggest headache in tech for most people isn't the chip speed.
No, it's the clutter. You know the feeling, that cable jungle behind your desk or your TV, HDMI, USB, power cords, Ethernet. It's a mess.
It's a universal frustration. And it's exactly the problem that about 50 Chinese companies, including giants like Huawei and Hisense, decided to solve back in 2019.
With this new standard called GPMI.
general purpose multimedia interface. And the promise is, well, it's radical. One single cable.
For everything.
For everything. High definition 8K video, data, power, and even control signals, all at the same time through one wire.
That honestly sounds too good to be true. What are the specs like? I mean, is it really a big step up from something like USB-C?
It's a significant leap. So there are two versions. The first is Type-C, which is designed to be compatible with all your existing USB-C stuff.
Okay, that's smart.
Even that version hits 96 gigabits per second and can deliver up to 240 watts of power.
240 watts is a lot. That's enough to power a serious gaming laptop or a big monitor.
Or two of them. But then there's the proprietary version, Type-B, and that's where the ambition just explodes.
How much more are we talking?
192 gigabits per second and a staggering 480 watts of power.
480. You could power a small server with that.
You could, but what's really fascinating to me isn't just the raw power, it's the user-friendly features. You mentioned daisy chaining.
Right, connecting things in a line.
Exactly. Imagine your computer connects to your main monitor, then one cable from that monitor to a second one, then another cable to your external hard drive, all powered by that first connection. It just eliminates all the power bricks and hubs.
And what about this bidirectional control? What does that mean in practice?
So imagine you're playing a game from your phone on your big TV. But your fancy gaming controller is plugged into the TV.
Yeah.
The control signals flow backward through that same GPMI cable from the TV to the phone instantly. The whole idea is that all the devices just talk to each other seamlessly. No more juggling remotes and inputs.
The first use case is obviously for TVs and game consoles, but I can see this spreading really fast.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the car industry. One GPMI port could run all the screens, sensors, cameras, or in factories, running complex machinery with just a single, simple connection.
This does raise the big question, though. The standards war. It's always a brutal fight. Can a made-in-China standard really take on heavyweights like HDMI and USB-C?
That is the million-dollar question, or maybe billion-dollar question. It's a huge uphill battle against decades of infrastructure. They have powerful state backing, but they'll need to prove their value very, very quickly to get global adoption.
It's a fascinating space to watch. Okay, let's shift gears one last time. We're going from simplifying hardware back to the very frontier of AI theory. We need to talk about Yann LeCun.
A true pioneer. Turing Prize winner, head of AI at Meta since 2013, and now he's announced he's leaving at the end of 2025.
But this isn't really a retirement, is it? It feels more like a philosophical break.
It is. Internally at Meta, Mark Zuckerberg has gone all in on large language models, LLMs, and this new superintelligence lab. LeCun, who has been a vocal critic of the limits of LLMs, suddenly found himself reporting to a guy whose entire focus he disagrees with.
He's been one of the biggest skeptics out there, saying current LLMs are basically hitting a wall. What's his core argument?
His core argument is that LLMs are just master talkers. They only understand text. They have no concept of the real world, no world model.
So they can write a story about a glass falling, but they don't actually understand what gravity is or what spilling means.
That's it exactly. They don't understand physics, cause and effect. So the goal of his new approach, what it's calling physical AI, is to change that.
So how does physical AI work? What's the mission of his new startup?
The mission is to build models that understand the physical world. That means you don't just feed them text. You feed them images and, crucially, videos.
So they learn by watching the world, not just by reading about it.
Right. An LLM learns to predict the next word. A physical AI learns to predict the next physical event, what happens next in the video.
That's a profound difference. It's the difference between simulation and experience.
And LeCun put it very clearly. He wants to, quote, lead the next great AI revolution. Systems susceptible to understanding the physical world, equipped with permanent memory, capable of reasoning and conceiving complex actions.
That permanent memory part feels important. An LLM forgets everything after your conversation window closes.
But an agent in the real world can't do that. It needs a continuous understanding of its environment. And this, of course, has massive implications for one field in particular: robotics and automation. This is the bridge. If your AI understands physics, a robot could encounter a totally new situation and figure it out on the fly. It wouldn't need a human to program a solution for every possible problem.
It could reason about the world? That's a huge bet to make when the rest of the industry is pouring billions into just making better chatbots.
A huge and very expensive bet.
Okay, so to quickly recap our deep dive, we have Saudi Arabia using its unique cultural data and, well, massive piles of cash to build a native AI powerhouse.
At the same time, China's GPMI standard is trying to radically simplify our physical connections by killing the cable jungle.
And one of AI's most important thinkers, Yann LeCun, is betting his entire legacy on moving beyond language and teaching AI to understand reality itself, physical AI.
And if you connect all those dots, you have to ask yourself a question. Given the enormous global investment in language models and AI that can talk, what's the long-term advantage of LeCun's bet on an AI that can do, the future of the manufacturing, logistics, healthcare? So much of that depends on automation in the physical world. So which path ultimately leads to dominance? The AI that talks or the AI that acts? That's something for you to think about.
An excellent thought to end on. The future is being built by what models can say, yes, but also by what they can do and the pipes that connect them. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
We appreciate you spending your time with us. And a quick final note, this has been Le Podcast de Philippe. Please help us reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers. And if you found this useful, please share our podcast. We'll be back next week.